In 1995, Martin Scorsese delivered Casino, a sprawling epic that turned Las Vegas into a character of its own, seductive, dangerous, and utterly corrupt. What audiences saw on screen was polished perfection, but behind the cameras lurked secrets that would rival any mob conspiracy. From wardrobe budgets that nearly bankrupted the production to real mobsters coaching Hollywood stars, the making of this film was as chaotic as the story it told. Actors suffered physical pain for their craft. Stunts went dangerously wrong, and the line between fiction and reality blurred in ways no one expected. But first, let's start with the scene that almost never happened, the explosive opening that defined the entire film. Number 1. The opening used a last-minute rewrite. The car bomb explosion that launches Casino into chaos wasn't part of the original plan. Scorsese had written a quieter, more domestic opening that would ease audiences into Las Vegas corruption. But something felt wrong. The energy wasn't there. Just weeks before filming began, Scorsese made a bold decision. He scrapped the entire opening and replaced it with the now iconic explosion, throwing Robert De Niro's character into the air in slow motion. The visual was so important that he shot the sequence 3 times using different vehicles, adjusting angles and timing until achieving the perfect rhythm. The gamble paid off spectacularly. That opening explosion became one of cinema's most memorable first scenes, immediately establishing the film's tone of violence, chaos, and inevitable destruction. What started as last-minute panic turned into a masterclass in visual storytelling. Number 2. Wardrobe budget that broke the bank. Robert De Niro's character, Ace Rosenthal, demanded perfection in every detail, and his wardrobe reflected that obsession. The actor wore more than 70 different outfits throughout the film, each custom-tailored masterpiece costing thousands of dollars. The total wardrobe budget spiraled so high that studio executives questioned the investment. Costume designer Rita Ryak and her team worked tirelessly to source period-accurate fabrics, jewelry, and accessories. Every suit had to capture 1970s Las Vegas excess, with bold patterns, wide lapels, and colors that screamed wealth. De Niro insisted on authentic details, believing the right clothes would help him inhabit the character completely. The studio nearly pulled funding when they saw mounting costs, but Scorsese fought to keep every outfit. His argument was simple. In a film about a man who built an empire on appearances, the clothes weren't just costumes. They were essential to understanding Ace Rosenthal. Number 3. Real Ace was wilder than the movie. Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal lived a life so outrageous that even Scorsese's film couldn't capture all of it. The real casino boss survived not just the car bombing depicted in the movie, but numerous other attempts on his life. He operated casinos without a gaming license for years, exploiting legal loopholes while being barred from the industry. Rosenthal's methods for bending casino rules went far beyond what appears on screen. He hosted a television show from inside the casino, gaining celebrity status while running illegal operations. His ability to manipulate public perception was legendary. He convinced authorities he was simply a sports handicapper, not the mob's point man in Vegas. The car bomb that nearly ended his life in 1982 actually happened, but his survival was even more miraculous than the film suggests. A manufacturing flaw in his Cadillac created a metal plate that deflected the blast just enough to save him. He walked away with minor injuries and lived another 26 years. Number 4. The slot machines were really rigged. Every jackpot, every losing spin, every perfectly timed win in Casino was carefully orchestrated. Not by movie mobsters, but by the film crew. The production team rigged every slot machine on set to control exactly when wins and losses occurred, creating the precise visual rhythm Scorsese demanded. Behind the camera, crew members operated hidden controls that triggered specific outcomes at exact moments. This manipulation was essential for maintaining tension and pacing. When a character needed to experience a crushing loss or unexpected win to drive the narrative forward, the machines delivered on cue. The irony wasn't lost on anyone involved. Here was a film exposing how casinos manipulated odds and cheated customers, and the filmmakers were doing essentially the same thing. Every controlled spin helped build the illusion of a world where chance was never really chance. Number 5. The real mobster who trained the actors. Frank Cullotta brought something to the casino set that no acting coach could provide: authentic criminal experience. The former mobster and Tony Spilotro associate was hired as a technical consultant, teaching the cast how real criminals talked, moved, and thought. His presence transformed performances into disturbingly accurate portrayals. Cullotta didn't just advise from the sidelines. He coached actors on everything from weapon handling to the body language of men who live by intimidation. He corrected dialogue that sounded too polished, replaced it with raw street vernacular, and explained the psychology behind violent acts most people couldn't comprehend. The ultimate meta moment came when Cullotta appeared on screen as a hitman, playing a character who eliminates the figure based on his real-life boss, Tony Spilotro. The former criminal literally acted out a version of events he had witnessed, blurring the line between documentary and fiction in a way only Scorsese could orchestrate. Number 6. Costume colors reveal the downfall. The vibrant pastels and bold patterns that defined Casino's early scenes weren't just fashion choices, they were a carefully constructed visual roadmap of moral decay. Costume designer Rita Ryak used color psychology to track each character's descent, creating a subtle narrative that most viewers absorb subconsciously. In the beginning, characters wear bright, optimistic colors reflecting their ambitions. Ace Rothstein's suits feature eye-catching patterns announcing his power. Ginger's wardrobe sparkles with sequins, capturing her allure. Even Nicky Santoro appears in colors suggesting energy and confidence. As greed consumes everyone, the palette shifts dramatically. Bright colors fade into darker, muddier tones, mirroring deteriorating situations. Ginger's glamorous gowns give way to disheveled clothing as her life spirals. Ace's suits lose their vibrancy, becoming somber as his empire crumbles. The transformation happens so gradually that audiences feel the descent without understanding how Ryak manipulated their perceptions. Number 7. Dual narrators and the hidden trick. Two voices guide audiences through Casino's 3-hour epic, but Scorsese deployed them in ways that fundamentally alter how viewers process the story. Both Ace and Nicky narrate events, offering their perspectives, but there's a hidden trick that changes everything once you notice it. The narration creates what feels like a documentary crossed with a confession booth. Scorsese wanted audiences to hear directly from participants, as if they were being interviewed after everything fell apart. The voices overlap, contradict, and agree, forcing viewers to constantly reassess what's true. The hidden trick reveals itself in the narrator's reliability, or lack thereof. Neither tells the complete truth, and Scorsese deliberately structures their voiceovers to expose self-serving perspectives. Ace portrays himself as the professional undone by chaos, while Nicky presents himself as the loyal friend forced into violence. The genius lies in how Scorsese lets viewers catch both lying without calling it out. Number 8. Almost banned for brutality. The Motion Picture Association of America looked at Scorsese's rough cut and saw a problem. The violence was too graphic for an R rating. The director faced a commercial nightmare. An NC-17 would have meant limited theatrical distribution and massive financial losses. Scorsese refused to remove entire scenes, so he and editor Thelma Schoonmaker began trimming individual frames from the most brutal sequences. The Vice scene, the baseball bat confrontation, and other moments were shortened by fractions of a second. These microscopic cuts satisfied the MPAA without fundamentally changing the impact. What remains is still intensely brutal, but the original was reportedly even more visceral. The frame-by-frame editing turned into a bizarre negotiation where single seconds determined whether the film would reach mainstream audiences. Scorsese won, keeping his vision mostly intact while securing the R rating that allowed Casino to succeed commercially. Number 9. The mafia skim was closer to reality. The elaborate money-skimming operation depicted in Casino wasn't Hollywood exaggeration. It was based on real FBI surveillance, court documents, and testimony from actual cases. Scorsese and writer Nicholas Pileggi used genuine numbers and methods that mobsters employed in Las Vegas casinos, creating scenes that law enforcement recognized as disturbingly accurate. The film shows how cash was diverted before being counted, how couriers transported money to mob bosses, and how the system relied on trusted insiders at every level. These details came directly from federal investigations still being prosecuted while the movie was in production. Some real participants were still alive, watching their crimes recreated on screen. The authenticity created legal concerns. Lawyers reviewed the script to ensure nothing would interfere with ongoing cases or expose information that wasn't public record. The final film shows enough truth to feel authentic while avoiding anything that could jeopardize prosecutions. Number 10. Joe Pesci nearly played the same guy twice. Joe Pesci's Nicky Santoro bears striking similarities to his character Tommy DeVito from Goodfellas, and that wasn't accidental. Scorsese deliberately crafted Nicky as a spiritual successor, wanting to create a mob universe, where the same type of violent, unpredictable criminal appeared across multiple films. The challenge was making Nicky feel familiar without becoming a carbon copy. Both characters explode into violence without warning, both feel disrespected easily, and both face brutal consequences. Pesci used similar mannerisms and speech patterns, creating a sense that audiences were watching different versions of the same archetype. The difference lies in context. Tommy operates in New York's hierarchy, while Nicky runs wild in lawless Las Vegas. Scorsese's gamble worked because audiences embraced the repetition. Instead of complaining about typecasting, viewers recognized Pesci as the definitive portrayal of a specific mobster type, the loose cannon who can't control his impulses. The parallel performances strengthened each other, creating a legacy where Pesci became synonymous with volatile criminals. Number 11. The desert scene was scripted chaos. The brutal desert confrontation between Nicky, his brother, and their executioners looks like raw, improvised violence, but every moment was meticulously choreographed. Scorsese planned the blocking, camera angles, and desperate struggling down to specific movements, creating controlled chaos that felt terrifyingly real. The actors prepared for weeks to make the scene authentic. They studied how people fight for their lives, how bodies move when exhausted and terrified, and how desperation manifests physically. The result was so visceral that viewers assumed the cast was simply reacting in the moment, not following precise direction. But one shocking element caught even the crew off guard. During one take, an actor's physical reaction was so intense and unexpected that it surprised everyone. Scorsese immediately recognized its authenticity and kept it in the final cut, without telling the other performers. That single unscripted moment elevated the sequence from staged violence to something disturbingly genuine. Number 12. Vegas is a character, not a backdrop. Martin Scorsese refused to shoot Casino on studio sets. He demanded the real Las Vegas. The director filmed inside actual operating casinos, capturing genuine gamblers, real dealers, and authentic atmosphere that no recreation could match. This transformed the city from mere location into a living presence that shapes every frame. The camera treats neon lights, slot machines, and crowded floors as active participants. Scorsese's visual approach makes glittering surfaces feel predatory, turning the entire city into a moral battlefield where greed consumes everyone. The endless machines, hypnotic lights, and constant flow of money all become weapons of corruption. Shooting in operational casinos created enormous logistical challenges. The crew worked around real customers and coordinated with management without disrupting business. But the payoff was enormous. Vegas feels alive, unpredictable, and genuinely dangerous because it was all those things during filming. The city's corruption wasn't suggested through art direction, it was captured directly. Number 13. The car bomb was a real dangerous stunt. The opening car explosion wasn't created with computer graphics. It was a full-scale practical effect, with genuine fuel tanks, rigged glass, and controlled fire. Robert De Niro's stunt double sat in the driver's seat as pyrotechnics experts detonated charges designed to throw the car into the air while protecting the performer. The stunt required extraordinary precision because any miscalculation could have resulted in serious injury. The explosion had to look devastating, but controlled enough to keep the performer safe. Special fireproof materials lined the interior, breakaway glass was precisely scored, and fuel tanks were positioned for maximum visual impact with minimum danger. Despite precautions, the stunt nearly went wrong. During one take, the explosion's force exceeded expectations, sending debris in unexpected directions and creating a larger fireball than planned. The stunt double escaped unharmed, but the close call reminded everyone that practical effects carry real risks that CGI has since eliminated. Number 14. Soundtrack that narrated the film's soul. Casino features more than 50 songs, but they're not just period-appropriate background music. Scorsese used them as narrative tools that foreshadow events and reveal character psychology. Each track was chosen to enhance emotional beats and signal turning points before they happen on screen. The soundtrack functions almost like a second narrator, commenting on action and revealing truths characters don't yet understand. One particular song plays during a seemingly normal scene, but its lyrics hint at betrayal 3 scenes before the actual backstabbing occurs. Attentive viewers who listen can predict plot developments before visual storytelling confirms them. Scorsese's musical choices span multiple genres and decades, creating a sonic landscape as varied and chaotic as Las Vegas itself. The songs transition from upbeat optimism during the rise to darker tones as everything collapses. The result is a film where the soundtrack doesn't just support the story, it actively tells a parallel version through music. Number 15. Hidden homage in the title sequence. The opening credits of Casino mirror the visual style of a classic Hollywood film. And it wasn't just stylistic borrowing, it was Scorsese consciously passing the torch to a new era. The swirling, kaleidoscopic images of neon lights directly reference a specific masterpiece that defined visual innovation decades earlier. Scorsese recreated the hypnotic, dreamlike quality of that earlier title sequence while updating it for 1990s audiences. The spinning camera movements, the abstract patterns formed by lights, and the way credits integrate with visual elements all echo techniques pioneered by directors Scorsese admired during his formative years. The Homage works on multiple levels. It connects Casino to cinema history while announcing Scorsese was creating something new. By referencing the past in his opening moments, he established both his credentials and his ambitions. The tribute acknowledged the filmmakers who shaped him, while demonstrating he had mastered and evolved their techniques for modern audiences. Number 16. Digressive editing was a genius tool. Traditional narrative filmmaking follows linear timelines with clear cause and effect, but Scorsese and editor Thelma Schoonmaker deliberately shattered those conventions in Casino. They crafted a plot that jumps between timelines without warning, interrupts dramatic moments with sudden flashbacks, and layers multiple voiceovers over rapidly changing visuals. The editing style mimics how memory actually works, fragmented, unreliable, and constantly shifting between past and present. Characters narrate events that haven't been shown yet, then the film circles back to reveal what happened. This creates a documentary-like quality where the story feels assembled from scattered testimonies rather than unfolding naturally. The result is a relentless experience that never allows audiences to settle into comfortable viewing. Just when a scene builds momentum, Schoonmaker cuts away to something different, forcing viewers to constantly reassemble the narrative puzzle. This digressive approach perfectly captures the chaotic spiral of greed and decay. Number 17. Sharon Stone paid a physical price. Sharon Stone's glamorous appearance in Casino came at a brutal physical cost that few viewers realize. She was often sewn directly into her gowns, making removal impossible between takes. The elaborate costumes weighed her down with heavy jewelry, restrictive corsets, and towering heels that she wore for 12-hour shooting days. The physical toll accumulated throughout production. Stone developed bruises from tight-fitting garments, suffered chronic back pain from costume weight, and experienced exhaustion from performing in outfits that restricted her breathing and movement. Long takes meant she couldn't escape the discomfort. She simply had to endure it while delivering emotionally demanding performances. Stone's dedication went beyond professionalism. She understood that Ginger's physical appearance was central to the character. The pain she endured translated into authentic performances, where discomfort and desperation felt genuine. Her Oscar nomination acknowledged not just her acting ability, but the literal physical sacrifice she made. Number 18. A hidden link back to Goodfellas. Before Casino, Scorsese, Pesci, and De Niro created Goodfellas, and eagle-eyed fans immediately noticed connections. The parallels weren't accidental, but deliberate choices that created an unofficial cinematic universe, exploring different facets of organized crime across decades and locations. Both films share similar narrative structures with voiceover narration, rapid-fire editing, and a rise and fall trajectory. The visual language echoes between them. Scorsese uses the same camera techniques, musical cues, and similar color palettes. Certain scenes in Casino feel like spiritual successors to moments in Goodfellas, creating a sense of continuation. The reused elements weren't lazy repetition, but intentional world building. Scorsese wanted to explore how mob culture manifested differently in New York versus Las Vegas, showing how the same criminal mentality adapted to different environments. By reimagining techniques from Goodfellas, he created a companion piece that deepened both films. Number 19. What really happened after the film ends. The real-life figures who inspired Casino's characters didn't receive the cinematic endings shown on screen. Their actual fates were far more complicated. Frank Rosenthal survived his car bombing and lived until 2008, spending his final decades in Florida. He consistently maintained he was just a businessman, caught in unfortunate circumstances. Jerry McGee, the inspiration for Sharon Stone's Ginger, met a tragic end that the film only hints at. She passed away in 1982 at just 46 years old. Her relationship with Rosenthal had deteriorated beyond what even the movie depicted, leaving behind children caught in the aftermath of their parents' destructive lifestyle. Tony Spilotro, the bassist for Nicky Santoro, did meet a violent end along with his brother, though the exact circumstances differed from the film's version. He was found in an Indiana cornfield in 1986. Years later, Rosenthal gave interviews sharing his thoughts on how Hollywood portrayed his life, offering perspectives that both confirmed and contradicted what Scorsese showed audiences. Number 20. Casino condenses decades in 3 hours. The mob's influence in Las Vegas stretched nearly 30 years in reality, but Casino compresses most of that history into one frenetic rise and fall, spanning roughly a decade on screen. Scorsese deliberately condensed timelines, merged multiple real incidents, and accelerated events to create a cohesive narrative. The compression required significant simplification. Numerous real people were combined into composite characters. Years of gradual change became sudden shifts, and complex legal maneuvering was reduced to brief moments. What took decades in real life appears to happen in just a few years on screen, creating inevitable doom. Despite the compressed timeline, the film captures the essential truth: the mob's grip on Vegas casinos, the skim operations, the violent power struggles, and the eventual corporate takeover that ended an era. Scorsese prioritized emotional and thematic accuracy over strict chronology, understanding that audiences needed a clear narrative arc. Number 21. The scrapped script you never saw. Before Martin Scorsese took creative control of Casino, the project existed in a completely different form. The original concept envisioned the story as an FBI procedural thriller, focusing on federal investigators building cases against casino corruption, rather than following the criminals themselves. Early drafts position law enforcement agents as the main characters, structuring the narrative around courtroom testimony, wiretap evidence, and gathering proof. The mob figures would have appeared as shadowy antagonists, seen through surveillance footage and informant reports. This approach would have made Casino feel more like a legal drama than the character tragedy audiences received. Scorsese rejected that entire framework. He wanted to tell the story from inside the criminal world, making the mobsters themselves the focus. By scrapping the FBI procedural approach, he transformed what could have been a standard crime thriller into an epic examination of greed, loyalty, and self-destruction. Number 22. Vegas changed forever after Casino. The final scenes of Casino show a transformed Las Vegas, one where family-friendly theme parks and corporate mega-resorts have replaced mob-controlled casinos. This wasn't cinematic exaggeration. It was documentation of how corporate America genuinely took over the city and ended an entire era of organized crime influence. By the mid-1980s, massive corporations began buying out mob-connected properties. They demolished legendary casinos and built sanitized entertainment complexes designed to attract tourists and families rather than high-rolling gamblers. The transformation happened rapidly, and within a decade, Las Vegas had reinvented itself as a mainstream vacation destination. The mob's Vegas died not through violence or law enforcement, but through simple economics. Corporations could generate more profit from legitimate operations than criminals ever made through illegal schemes. The film's depiction serves as a eulogy for a vanished world where organized crime controlled an American city. Number 23. Legacy that changed crime storytelling. After Casino hit theaters, its influence rippled through crime storytelling in ways that continue today. Filmmakers and television creators absorbed Scorsese's techniques, the voiceover narration, the rapid-fire editing, the epic scope, and used them to reshape how mob stories were told across all media. The Sopranos debuted just 4 years after Casino and clearly drew inspiration from Scorsese's approach to depicting organized crime as a business filled with mundane problems alongside sudden violence. The show's creator openly acknowledged how Casino and Goodfellas influenced his vision. Later series like Breaking Bad adopted similar structures, showing criminal enterprises as complex operations. The film established a template that became the standard for prestige crime dramas. Its combination of authenticity, moral complexity, and visual style set expectations that every subsequent mob story had to meet. Casino didn't just tell one story well, it fundamentally changed how audiences expected crime narratives to be constructed. Number 24. The final shot's hidden warning. The closing image of Casino shows anonymous hands collecting tokens from slot machines in the newly corporate Las Vegas, a seemingly simple visual that carries the film's entire thematic weight. This isn't just about gambling, it's a metaphor for the film's message that greed never ends, it just changes hands. The imagery deliberately mirrors the opening explosion, creating a circular structure. The film begins with fire and violence, then ends with cold mechanical repetition. Where the mob's greed was personal and explosive, corporate greed is impersonal and systematic. The tokens represent how the pursuit of money continues regardless of who's collecting. Scorsese's final statement is deeply pessimistic. Nothing really changed except the packaging. The mob lost control, but the fundamental exploitation didn't disappear. It simply became legitimate and far more efficient. That last shot tells viewers that the corruption they just witnessed wasn't an aberration. It was one chapter in an endless cycle. Number 25. The mistake Scorsese didn't catch. For years after Casino's release, one continuity error survived countless viewings, professional reviews, and even the director's own scrutiny. The mistake went unnoticed until eagle-eyed fans finally caught it. When informed about the error, even Scorsese admitted he had completely missed it. The error involves a subtle inconsistency where details don't match between camera angles. Props appear and disappear, positions shift impossibly between cuts, and the continuity that editors normally catch slipped through. For a film as meticulously crafted as Casino, where every frame received intense attention, the survival of this mistake is remarkable. What makes this interesting is that the error doesn't diminish the film. Most viewers will never notice it. It serves as a reminder that even masterpieces contain imperfections, proving that even Scorsese and legendary editor Thelma Schoonmaker couldn't catch everything, despite their attention to detail. Casino isn't just a mob movie. It's an epic about power, greed, and the impossible illusion of control. From real mobsters coaching actors to dangerous stunts that nearly went fatal, every revelation adds another layer to understanding this masterpiece. Behind Scorsese's camera, actors suffered physical pain, crews risked their safety, and consultants with genuine criminal pasts helped create authenticity that no amount of research could match. If you love discovering the buried truths, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now it's your turn. Which secret blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments. And remember, when the odds look too good to be true, they usually are.